New Horizons is getting its first major content update in 4 years, and I don't know about you, I'm really excited about it. The 3.0 update is bringing a bunch of new features in, which is going to make a major difference in how you play your game. From the new hotel opening up to the Slumber Islands, there are a lot of things to get lost in, but as more time has gone on, more and more questions have emerged about the update, which the trailer didn't fully address. Even after the recent preview events where content creators got to see gameplay and ask their own questions about the update, it seems like there is still a ton of questions which we don't have answers to, which may make the difference in how you see the 3.0 update. Today I want to go into these questions and explore what we may be seeing in Animal Crossing 3.0 which Nintendo hasn't fully responded to. One of the big things that was actually not covered within the 3.0 previews, which I'm really disappointed by, is bulk crafting. We didn't get any information about this from the preview event, and the trailer seemed to gloss over this, so there's not really a huge amount of information that we have to go on here. But the big question that I have when it comes to bulk crafting is whether or not it's going to apply to cooking and customization. The big thing within this is that we know cooking has the same base mechanics as crafting, so I'd be really surprised if we didn't see bulk cooking coming into the 3.0 update. As for bulk customization, I'm not entirely sure if we will get it or not. The mechanic is very different when it comes to customization. But where I'm creating an island at the moment, which is mostly simple panels, and I'm using the same custom codes over and over again to craft them together, I honestly would love to see bulk customization come in to really improve the gameplay for that. The other question which I really have about bulk crafting, which hasn't been fully addressed, is whether or not we're going to be able to craft items using resources which you have in the storage and not just from the pockets. This has been seemingly confirmed by Nintendo, but it also hasn't really been addressed. In the US product listing for the Nintendo Switch 2 update for Animal Crossing New Horizons, there is a mention in there about potentially being able to craft items from the storage. However, we don't actually know if that is the case for the whole game itself. We're going to need to wait to see how this works in practice, but hopefully we get some more information about this soon. The other question that I have about bulk crafting is whether or not we're going to need to purchase a license before we use this, or whether the bulk crafting is going to be available for everyone. This is a question that I still have outstanding, and in all honesty, I wouldn't necessarily mind either way if this does become available. For customized fencing, when that launched, we did have to purchase a license to be able to customize fencing into whatever colors we liked. And in all honesty, it wasn't a huge number of Nook Miles that were required to get this. But either way, I'm hoping we get an update on this before the 3.0 update launches so that we can go into the 3.0 update able to purchase the license or bulk craft straight off the bat without worrying too much about what comes in with that. One of the big features that is coming into the 3.0 update, which I am really excited by, is the brand new hotel that's coming in. Although we've seen a lot of information about the hotel, there's still quite a few questions here that I'm not entirely sure are going to be answered or not. The big one for me is whether or not hotel guests can be invited to live on your island. There was some mixed feedback with different creators hearing different information when it came to the preview events. Some were told outright no, they weren't going to be able to invite them, whilst others were told that you seemingly have to convince them to potentially move onto your island. It is a little bit disappointing that we don't have a bit more information about this, but I think in either case, it would be good to get a little bit more information as to whether or not we are going to be able to invite villagers from the hotel to live on our island, and let us know for definite if the campsite is going to be featuring different gameplay as a result of that. The hotel itself is going to see villagers come in which will want to stay in your hotel, and you have to design rooms to them that match a particular theme so that they can enjoy their stay the most. But what I'm really interested in from this is what features are going to set the hotel apart from Happy Home Paradise. From what we've seen of the hotel, the gameplay is exactly the same, but there hasn't been any new information shared on what makes it different. There's nothing that we've been told about any rewards or unlocks that you can get from the hotel, which makes it that bit different. There was a small mention by a creator called Crossing Casey who mentioned there were new emotes that they saw, but Nintendo, when asked about this, said they weren't new. If it is a case of there is a new emote, that would make sense that it is tied to the hotel and there are going to be specific unlocks that give us new emotes to be able to access within the game. However, we don't actually know if this is going to be a feature or not. We'll have to wait for the 3.0 update to come out so that we can see what makes the hotel different from Happy Home Paradise. Another question that I have about the hotel and how we get paid out in the hotel tickets, which is the exclusive currency that comes from finishing a room, is are there going to be unlimited items which can be shipped out within the hotel box so that you can get as many tickets as you want? As we've seen from a few different places, including IGN, you only get paid for one hotel room per day, even though you can decorate as many different rooms as you like from what we've been told. If that is going to be true, can we then ship out unlimited items within the hotel box to get as many hotel tickets as possible? If so, what I would like to know from Nintendo is why we don't get paid for a second room per day if we only have the option to have 8 rooms that we can decorate every single week. The other questions that I have are around the different residents and the tourists when they come in, and whether or not there's going to be additional gameplay when they visit you if they choose to multiple times. The big one that I would like to know is, will previous residents visit the hotel stay in the same room? And if they do they remember you and do they remember the room that they're in? I would love to have some specific gameplay around this and specific dialogue that lets you build out relationships with these villagers, and potentially that can be a gameplay mechanic which you can use to convince people to stay on your island if they get the same face come up every time and they enjoy speaking to you every day. One of the other new features that we're going to be getting as part of the 3.0 update is the one that I think most players are excited by, and that is the Slumber Islands. However, despite the initial enthusiasm and excitement that you may have felt for the 3.0 trailer, it seems that a lot of people have become a little bit disappointed in the Slumber Islands as we've now seen more information from the preview events. Some of the questions that I have about this are more about conflicting information that we've heard more than anything else, and I really hope we get a bit more clarity before the 3.0 update comes in. The big one that I would like to know is whose custom codes are going to be used on the island, and whether or not they're going to be the hosts or they're tied to the players so that anyone on your Slumber Island can use the custom codes on the island. What we don't know is whether or not the custom codes are going to be tied to the host or each of the players that are on the island. I really hope that we get a little bit more clarity on this, because I would love to decorate with a bunch of different custom codes, but unfortunately we don't have the option to have new custom code slots that are specific to the Slumber Islands. It is disappointing to see this, but if we are able to share custom codes with friends on the Slumber Islands, then this would make a lot more sense to be able to really truly personalize an island and create something that is special. However, I can understand why Nintendo chooses to limit this to just the host custom codes, so that they're not getting any custom codes on the islands that shouldn't be there in the first place. One of the other really cool features that was shown off in the Slumber Islands as part of the 3.0 trailer is that we can change the time of the day and the weather, which is exactly the same mechanic as we have on Happy Home Paradise, and I love that we can get this in the Slumber Islands as well. But one thing that I would really like to know as part of the Slumber Islands is whether or not we can change the season of the island itself. There was no mention on changing the season either in the trailer or from the preview events, but hopefully this is something we get a little bit of clarity on. If it is a case that we can't change the season of the island, I'd really like to know if it is just tied to the season that you're currently in, or whether or not you can manipulate this before you go into the island itself. Another series of questions which has come up about the Slumber Islands, which I would be really interested to know, is whether or not you can reset the Slumber Islands themselves. We already know that you're limited to 3 Slumber Islands per player per island, but there's been no information on whether or not they can be reset in the same way that you can delete your save data to start a new Animal Crossing island. I'm going to say that there's either going to be a mechanic from Luna before you launch into the Slumber Island, or you're going to be able to just overwrite a Slumber Island that you've already designed. But hopefully we get a little bit more information about this, because I would love to know if I can finish an island and start a new one instead of having different islands doing different jobs. I would also be really interested to know whether or not you can change the name of the Slumber Island to be something completely different from your main island, or whether or not it's just tied to just being called a Slumber Island. We don't know any more about this, but hopefully that we get a little bit more information, as the island name can be a massive influence on your island theme. Another feature on the Slumber Island that wasn't really gone into in any more detail, which I'm really interested in, is how many buildings we can have on the Slumber Islands themselves. The trailer itself and any of the preview footage that was sent to content creators only shows one building on the Slumber Islands, and it seems to be a house in a large configuration. We saw nothing in terms of getting Nook's Cranny or Able Sisters on the Slumber Islands, and although this is fine for now, I'd be interested to know if there's going to be a little bit of flexibility in designing the islands and bringing in either more villager homes or exclusive businesses that we can use to decorate the islands in a bit more detail, as sometimes getting in things like the museum or Able's makes a massive difference to the vibe of the island you're creating. We also don't know what each of the sizes are going to be of the Slumber Islands. We know from the preview events that it's been confirmed that the large islands are the same size as your main island, but nothing was said about the small or medium-sized islands, which is not particularly helpful if you're wanting to decorate on a smaller scale. I'd also like to know within the Slumber Islands whether or not we have the ability to decorate the interior and the exterior of the houses and buildings that are on those islands. I'd understand if it was a case of we get Nook's Ables and the museum on there that we can't decorate the interiors or customize the exteriors, just like we can't do those on our main island. But where we have a different house in a different size on the Slumber Islands, I'm kind of inclined to say that there's going to be a few customization options in there, but we haven't been told anything as part of the preview events or the 3.0 update trailer, and I'd really like to see some more information about this before it goes live in January 2026. The other series of questions I've seen come up about the Slumber Islands, which I also have myself when it comes to them, is how you invite friends onto the island and whether or not they work the same way as inviting friends via dodo codes. During the previews, the content creators and media channels saw 3 different ways to connect to an island that was spotted. One of these was just listed as a regular session, one was listed as up to 12 players, and the other was by these new things called doze codes. My guess is that for the doze codes, they're going to work in a similar way to dodo codes, but the thing that confuses me the most is the regular session. We know that this is probably going to be limited to just 8 players, like we have within Animal Crossing New Horizons on the main island, but there wasn't really anything mentioned about whether or not this uses your friends list or your best friends list. And I'd like to have the option to choose either my friends or best friends to visit my island and decorate together. Sadly, we don't have any clarity on this, but I'm hoping that we get a little bit more information when the update comes out, and it works in the same way as we have with the current islands, where you can choose to invite one or the other group depending on what you're trying to do. One of the small features that came in as part of the 3.0 update trailer, which I'm really excited to see, but also wasn't really shown off in the 3.0 preview events at all to the content creators, is Resetti's cleanup service. Resetti has this new reset service which allows you to remove island decoration from either a specific area, from your entire island, or just the beach. So you have a lot of options if you just want to clear a space to be able to decorate it again without worrying about spending the time going around and picking up items. However, it turns out that this feature is not as fleshed out as I thought it was going to be. From the trailer, what we saw was that Resetti has the ability to pick up items and clear up custom codes, and if there are any flowers in the area, you will be asked if you want to move them into your storage, which is a lovely feature to see. But one thing that I would really like to know that Nintendo hasn't fully clarified is why Resetti doesn't clean any trees or bushes and in-game paths as part of the cleanup service. It is a little bit frustrating to see this because even though flowers and trees and bushes now can be stored in the storage, it seems like for this reset service, you're not going to be able to move your trees and bushes straight into your storage. Instead, you're going to have to clean these up through normal gameplay, which is a little bit frustrating to see, but hopefully that can be fixed as part of a quality of life feature in the future. The other thing that we don't know about Resetti is what you need to pay for his cleanup service and whether this is done through Nook Miles or Bells. I'm inclined to say that when it comes to the reset service, you'll be paying in Nook Miles, which is exactly what you do when it comes to calling Resetti to be able to clear you out of an area that you've decorated yourself into or where you've gotten stuck. But until we get the update come in, we won't know if you're going to need Nook Miles or Bells for this. One of the questions that's come out that I haven't really thought about until after I've seen the preview events is something that I think is going to be really important when it comes to Resetty service, and that is what happens to your items if you don't have enough space in your storage to store them. We don't know if the items are just going to be not picked up, if there's going to be a priority system, or whether or not any items that can't fit in your storage will be moved into the recycling bin. So it'd be good to get a little bit more clarity on this before the 3.0 update comes out in January. The other main question which has come out about Animal Crossing 3.0 is whether or not this is going to be the last major content update for Animal Crossing New Horizons. And when asked about this directly, Nintendo kind of left it open and just said, wait and see as a response to all of this. It makes sense that we've not had a lot of clarity on whether or not we're going to get more updates in the future, but it would be amazing to see if we can do this. The fact that we're getting Animal Crossing 3.0 is a major improvement on where we were left off after the 2.0 update when that came out 4 years ago. But one of the things that I've been questioning is whether or not we're going to see more updates in the future. And in all honesty, looking at how the 3.0 update has been laid out, I'm not entirely sure if we will be, but it seems like there's going to be a few extra things that are going to come out within New Horizons in the future, and I'm really hoping that we're going to get some more updates which are going to keep Animal Crossing going for a really long time. Even though there are a load of questions still left unanswered, I really think the 3.0 update is shaping up to be a really good one, which will bring a lot of players back into the Animal Crossing world. Whilst these questions still remain, we actually got a bunch of new information about the 3.0 update, which is worth keeping in mind. And if you watch this video next, you'll learn more about the 3.0 update and get some more answers to some of the questions that you have about the changes coming in January. And I'll see you over there.